Hello, this is Witchcraft and Tarot with Lucy Ann, and today I'm joined with Tracie. Tracie is also another YouTuber. She does tarot readings, and she's also a minister. Is that correct? I wasn't sure if that was the correct term for it. And you've also got the podcast, which is where you interviewed me last year for the Lightworker Community podcast and directory, which I thoroughly enjoyed doing, and that was wonderful. So tell us a bit about yourself, Tracie, because I know all about you, but the viewers don't. So,
well, it's a long story. It started at birth, actually. I came into this world kind of an old soul. Of course, I was the typical black sheep of the family because I was born into a very Christian-based, oriented family. My dad's side of the family is actually, Southern Baptist type energies. His grandfather was a Baptist minister from, is it Baptist? Anyhow, I'm not exactly sure, so I don't want to quote, but my great grandfather was an Irish minister from Dublin, Ireland. A lot of spirituality on my great grandmother's side because she was Native American. She was Blackfoot, Native American, and she was actually the medicine woman of her tribe. A lot of people call them shamans, but shaman is kind of a white person term. It's not really what the Native Americans, it's not a term they would use.
No.
It's more of a maybe African or South African concept. But anyhow, I've just had eyes half open most of my life. I wouldn't say wide open until about 2017. I've been able to channel spirit and see dead people, and suffered a lot of spiritual attacks. I was raised extremely Christian. I actually bought into the Christian, a lot of the more, what I would consider the more fear-based Christian beliefs, even though my heart and my soul never bought into it, but I wanted to conform and fit in. So I put on every hat that I could. I became a minister. I taught Sunday school. I sat on sessions. I was the secretary at one point. I led the choir. I was a deacon first. And so like I pretty much, if there was a hat you could wear, and in the church of my choice, Presbyterian, which was my mom's influence, not my dad's. My dad's was a bit too intense for me. The few times that I had gone to church with one of my great aunts or uncles, they scared the heck out of me. Like I had a big mouth as a kid. I tend to talk about things that I shouldn't in a church setting, like that's not the same God that I know. And, I used to say things like, there's more than one God in that Bible, and things that and I was young and innocent. And so they a couple of times took me up in front of the entire congregation and laid hands and prayed over me, saying that I was demonically possessed and blah, blah, blah. And so the fear-based part of religion had a very traumatic effect on me at a young age. And it was a very slow, and when I say very slow, I mean like over decades, healing back of that facade and getting to who I truly am and what I truly believe from a religious standpoint. And that's, that all is love and all is God and source is God and it's everything, right? The Alpha, the Omega, beginning, middle, and end, everything that was, is, and ever shall be. And so, you and I are just aspects of the Creator in an experiential human experience in order to evolve and grow. So that brings me kind of up until, I had my major awakening. And of course, I had the catalyst that a lot of people term twin flame. I'm on the journey, so I can't say that I know what it's supposed to end up being. I know what other people say it's supposed to be, which hasn't always been my experience. My experience is that my twin is my mirror, and If I have a fear of abandonment, he will abandon me. And if I have a fear of not being the chosen one, he will choose other people. And so his role in my life has been to mirror back to me my deepest fears that I wasn't even aware that I had.
Yeah.
They had to come to the surface. You know, I always use the analogy on my YouTube channel, like if this was an aquarium, we got a little goldfish swimming around here, and down here's the stones. Okay, well, you know, our belief systems are very deep rooted core beliefs are under the rocks. It's deep, right? And that's where the fears, and that's where a lot of the shit goes too, right? And so a twin flame as a catalyst will come in and shake that sucker up. And now everything that you didn't even know was there is floating at the top, and everything becomes extremely foggy and disrupted and chaotic. And now you're like just kind of desperately trying to find homeostasis again.
You just try and find that balance, don't you, again, because everything becomes so blown out of proportion, and you're having to learn lessons that you didn't think you even had to learn.
Lessons I didn't even know existed.
No, I didn't.
Let alone that I had to learn, because I was deeply steeped in the religious faith and belief system that God is an old man. He's on a cloud somewhere, and if you do something wrong, you're going to be smote down. And you know, when I had my huge awareness awakening was when my mom and sister died within 7 months of each other. Half of my family was wiped out. And I had already become more spiritual and less religious. And I kind of felt like a astronaut that had left my station to do a repair. And all of a sudden something come in and snip me loose, and now I'm free floating out in the middle of nowhere. And my faith was challenged to the point where I didn't know who to pray to. I didn't know what to pray. I didn't know who is God, who am I, is this real? And you know, of course, that's when the algorithms start slamming you with all the Mandela effects and, you know, questioning your reality and the matrix and blah blah blah. That's a whole podcast on its own. But I got the Bible back out because I'm like, okay, I'm lost and I need something I can have faith in, something I can pray to, something I can connect with. And so I went back to my roots. I went back to my Christianity, and I got the Bible out, and I'm like, God, please show me your true nature. Show me who you are. Show me who I am. And I opened that Bible up in desperation, looking for love, compassion, some sort of connection, an explanation of what the role of God is in my life, right? And I opened the Bible up to 2 Corinthians, and I wish I had noted the exact scripture, but I don't, probably because it was pretty traumatic, and I thought, you know, let's just store that one away. But I opened it up and I put my finger down and I read it, and it said, being a medium is an abomination to God, punishable by death without resurrection.
Wow. That's
powerful. And
words.
I thought, well, that God just showed me exactly who he is.
Yeah, he did.
And it's not the God that I love and value and serve. And so at that moment, I completely renounced, almost to an extreme that's not healthy, the Christian faith, because I was like, nope, it's all bullshit. It's all hell and hell and damnation, you know, hellfire. And I thought, I've always felt from a very young age something very nurturing and loving and protective, and I can feel the presence of God, and it wasn't there. It wasn't in that. And so at that moment I thought, well, bye-bye, you know, and I kind of put that Bible away. Now that I'm older, more mature, I've done a lot of healing, I've done a lot of forgiving, I can go back to that Bible and really find pearls of wisdom.
I do as well. As much as I don't practice my faith anymore, when I feel in times of need and of anguish, I will pick it up, or I will go to a church and light a candle. But I don't practice anymore, but I find comfort in it. It brings me
Yeah.
comfort.
I think it's vibrational, right? Like I was in a very poor vibrational state when I opened that Bible up, and it took me to the law of attraction, that which I was vibrating in cohesion with. And you know, when you raise your vibration and you start doing the trauma healing, you start really rooting and grounding yourself in the true faith, the true oneness of collective consciousness, which is source, creator source, then your vibration can't connect with those anymore.
No.
And I think that's a good place for us to lead into today's topic, because today's topic, we want to talk about hexes and family curses. And so when you are in a vibrational cohesion with fear and belief, a core belief that something outside of you has the ability to influence you or manipulate you, you're attracting that in.
Well,
you're
it manifests that energy, doesn't it? It manifests it into your life.
Right. And so I believe that we have to do our shadow work. We have to take, and whether your catalyst is this video, or it's just a friend, or it's a, you know, an algorithm video that shows up in your YouTube, or whatever is your catalyst for awakening. You know, ours obviously was a mirror soul, right? The soul that mirrors us back to us with precision that is a little annoying, but very, very effective.
It is annoying, but it makes you question your sanity.
It does, because nobody understands it. Like you and I can talk to you about it, and you're like, oh my God, totally, I'm with you. But if you talk to somebody who's never experienced it, they're like, you're just obsessed and a quack, and you need to get help.
I've had people say to me, are you delusional? And I'm like, no, this is exactly how the process works with it. It teaches you things that you didn't even know that you needed to learn, and it brings things to the surface that you haven't healed from.
I just recently had an old school friend that I ran into, I hadn't seen in years, and she said to me, she says, it's like you're a different person. She said, you don't look the same. Of course, I've lost over 147 pounds.
Yeah, well done for that. I saw your post about that. Well done.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 6 years and it's been a struggle. I've gained a little back, but not much. But she literally said to me, Tracie, you don't look the same. You don't talk the same. You exude a radiance about you. If I didn't know any better, I'd swear you were pregnant, you know? And I'm like, nah, 56 years old, that ain't going to be a thing. And I had talked the last time, because I had seen her maybe, I don't know, I want to say... I don't even know, maybe 2015. And I had talked to her at that point about my twin.
Yeah.
Out of context, because I didn't have an awareness of twin flames. I didn't know what a twin was. I just knew that I met this guy when I was 12, and he's been in and out of my life, and he's, you know, wrecked me and then healed me and then wrecked me and then healed me. And it's like I could be on the other side of the earth, and when I'm in a certain vibration, he'll just show up out of nowhere. And I'm like, you live in Michigan, I live in Florida. What are you doing here? Right? And it's like, so I had talked to her about that phenomenon.
Yeah.
Without any context of what that phenomenon was. At that point, I was like, it's got to be like a soul made or something spiritual.
But it's like a combination of soulmate and karmic. That's the only way I can really put it to layman's terms, so anyone that doesn't know what the twin flame dynamic is can kind of grasp what it's about.
So I said to her back then, and we had a big long afternoon together, and she told me I was crazy. She's like, you're just obsessed. You know, you fell for a guy, he wasn't good for you, and now you just are obsessed with him. And I'm like, but that doesn't explain like the telepathy, the dreams, where they come into your dreams and literally educate you and talk to you about, you know, things that you don't understand. And, you know, and she's like, well, you've always been a little woo-woo. It's probably you. Your subconscious is talking to you and comes in his form. And we had all these different excuses of what it might be. But she basically told me she thought that I needed to get counseling to get over the fact that he had abandoned me and left me while we were planning a marriage, right? And I believed her. I was like, you're probably right. You know, that was pretty traumatic. I don't think I ever fully got over it. But it just seems like I've never had a connection like this with any other person. And I've tried cord cutting. I've tried, you know, moving on, dating other people. And really, it didn't feel like, it felt like love, but not like 3D physical love, like, oh my God, I gotta have sex with you or marry you or be with you. It just felt like no matter where I went, he was always here. Like on my mind, in the back of my energy, like I just couldn't shake. It was like a dog with fleas. I couldn't shake him off, you know? And so anyhow, I just ran into her again recently. And she was saying how much I had changed, how much you know, I've had a glow up. She's like, you're so smart. You got your shit together. You got your own business. And she's like, how'd you do it? And I said, well, remember that crazy obsession I had? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, well, he came back around again and my whole life went. And I said, it started a spiritual awakening that was like a roller coaster ride that I got on and couldn't get off of. And I said, I purged, I cried. I said, I went probably 12, 13 years without shedding a single tear. I had completely closed my heart chakra down and I was living in survival mode. And I said, I started having past life recall. I mean, you know, you've been there, but anyhow, so, anybody out there that thinks the twin flame thing is crazy, there is a crazy component because there's a lot of people who think they're twins, but they're not.
Well, I've had some interesting people reach out to me telling me that I'm their twin, and I'm like, you're really not. We've never met.
Right.
Never met you before. But then Rich Lopp had the same experience as well. So I knew that there was going to be a few that would approach this stuff.
So I like to change the terminology of that because you very well could be their catalyst. And so instead of calling it a twin flame, you hold the frequency and vibration of their awakening. And so watching you and connecting with your energy could be their twin flame journey. That doesn't mean that you're per se a twin soul with them. It just means that, you know, we are the keys, the way showers, and they are the hive, the collective. And we are actually implementing and planting. It's like if the world was an operating system, we have a lot of Trojans and viruses that have taken over and changed the direction of the Earth's personal ascension. And the twins, the true twins, because there's only 144,000, which actually I don't think is an actual number. It's a frequency. And as we heal and do our interpersonal healing, we start vibrating and reaching the potential of that 144,000. But of course, you know, everything is symbolic, even the matrix. So, you know, it could be 144,000 souls. I don't know. I'm on the journey. I'm learning as I go, right? It's not one that you come in as a master of. It's one you learn to master as you go. And so we are the way showers. We go first. The divine feminines go first. And then the divine masculines are like, it's like a choo-choo train, right? It's like you got the divine feminine in the lead, and only because energetically she's the higher realm, right? She's the higher chakras. And the divine masculine is the lower chakras. It's the doing aspect. It's the, you know, the chasing, the action oriented. And so the divine feminine awakens first because she's the one that's been suppressed. Our third eye, our crown chakra, our heart chakra, all of those have been conditioned and trained to shut off. And, you know, and then we can get into, you know, conspiracy theories about how they block our third eye and shut down, you know, our energy centers physically, which you can buy into or not buy into. It's a personal choice. But the thing is that the divine feminine has been oppressed and suppressed intentionally by beings that understand the dynamic of energy. And so the patriarch rule is everything is fight or flight. Everything is masculine, patriarch driven. It's, you know, I'll get there no matter what it costs. If I got to step on fingers or shoulders and then the divine feminine, and that's distorted masculine. You get into distorted feminine, the victim. Poor, poor, pitiful me. Nobody loves me. Nobody chooses me. I'm going to chase love. I'm going to date 50,000 men, have sex with anybody that comes in contact because I'm looking for that loving experience that has been denied me.
That also touches on if you just give your body away to just anybody, you're actually taking that person's energy on, and that stays with you. So you're taking on their negative energy by doing that. And that's why I believe it's so important you don't just give yourself away to anybody. It should be something that's important and is divine to you. So
right. And for those of us that, you know, didn't do that, because I was an alcoholic and I kind of went the wrong way.
When I was younger, I was a little bit promiscuous, but obviously as I've got older, I've realised that that's not the way you behave, and that's not how you
I had to do a lot of cord cutting. I did a lot of meditation, imagining that those cords deteriorated and just dropped away, which, you know, is something that anybody can Google on YouTube, how to do energy releases and cord cutting with trauma.
I've done cord cutting with my twin, and I've also had a friend who did the cord cutting with the candles, and I would say I thought it worked, but then he came back, didn't he? So it didn't work.
Yeah, you can't disconnect because he's you.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you're trying to run from him, you're actually running from yourself, you know, and it's like he will only continue to appear until you no longer need him there. And then you got free will, you know. It's like then you can connect and become a 3D thing. If that's your soul contract, that's what I believe. If you have a soul contract or a mission, or, you know, because there's a lot of twins in union who are super couples, and they're, you know, have YouTube
I've met one
channels.
recently at the event I did in November. There's a couple that are twin flame, and they work with sound healing, and that's what they do. They put that into their business as well. So they are out there, and it's very refreshing to actually hear their stories, to actually hear that of ones that have gone into union, especially when there's me and yourself that have resided and made the decision that we've chosen the soulmate connection, because I don't think my heart could take anymore, to be completely honest. And for my own journey, I think that's the best option for me.
Well, and some of us, I believe, because I hate when people put things in boxes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I've been in boxes. They're not comfortable. I don't like them. And I'm ready for freedom. I want to break free from all preconceived boxes. And I am now a powerful conscious creator. If it's an experience I want to have, I choose it. And if it's an experience I don't want to have, I release it. And I'm getting better at releasing without guilt. Where before, you know, being the distorted feminine, I felt guilty if I, you know, separated myself from a relationship, whether it was romantic, friendship, family, it didn't matter. But if I felt that relationship was actually holding me back or holding back my potential, then with love, I walk away, which shows up a lot in the tarot readings I do, because that's what the divine feminine is learning to do, is to become emotionally fulfilled within, so that she doesn't have to take that long, dark walk to become emotionally fulfilled out there.
Yeah.
And so I totally manifested my soulmate. I was like, this is what I want, and I know it ain't my twin. I said, I don't know how long it'll last. If I have a soul contract to come into a physical union with my twin, then when the time is right, I'll know. And then I'll make that decision and we'll go from there. Yeah. But I knew that he had a long journey ahead of him. I knew that I still had a lot of, I think I'm at the practice point where it's practice, practice. You know, those healthy boundaries, speaking up for oneself, standing in your sovereignty, not allowing other people to pull at your energy or hex you, right? And so, you know, before we go into the whole hex thing, I wanted to touch on dogma.
Yes.
Around a preconceived belief system of titles.
Yes.
So I'm sure it was very difficult for you to come out of the proverbial witch closet.
It was, considering being raised
anything like,
well.
And if you're anything like me, you have past lives where you were persecuted and murdered for
I
trying
believe
to...
that I was in part of the witch trials, and that's obviously why I have such a deep connection with it. So I feel that it's now my time to give those women a voice, and that's why I'm planning that documentary that I'm doing. So I do feel persecuted. I still feel persecuted even in this day and age, and I faced that this week, as I was explaining earlier. So, but there's so many different ways that people can be persecuted. It could be race, gender, even down to your sexuality. So I think we're never going to get away from that, I don't think, because people are always going to be prejudiced. They're always going to have an opinion.
I don't like to deal in definitives like always, never, can't, won't.
I would like them to change their opinion, but
I think they are. I think they have. I mean, obviously, there's still a lot of timelines where vibrationally we connect with that. But if you go back 100 years and, you know, look at the progress we've made, you know, look at the Rosa Parks and the, you know, people who moved from the back of the bus to the front of the bus and held the line. And we actually, it is changing. It's just that time and space is very dense. We're in the third density, and in a human form, you can only go up to the sixth density. And after that, you lose form and you're a light body, right? And so in density, it's like trying to run in water. It's now you can walk on water. Jesus proved that, right? You can walk on water, you can move things, but you have to have the faith of a mustard seed, which is something that's been really kind of trained out of us. You know, it's like, oh, faith of a mustard seed moves mountains, but don't you dare speak about things you shouldn't speak about. There's all the limitations. It's like that mustard seed never gets planted, right? It never gets to form and grow. No. But I think that although we are moving very slowly, I think a lot of us that have awakened have the hopes. We're a little impatient. We think that this lifetime we're going to get to see all the changes that we're here to create. But it brings me back to the ancestral thing, because we're not. No. We are.
But it's not quite there yet.
We are the way showers. We are the ground breakers, and our children and grandchildren and great grandchildren will get to experience the heaven on earth experience that we are now creating. And if we choose, we can reincarnate and come and experience it too. But most of us have been there, done that, bought the t-shirt and the beer koozie, and we're just ready to go home.
Yeah.
So, although it feels like prejudice is always going to be there, there are timelines existent, because there is nothing but the now moment. It's a lasagna. There are timelines where it already exists. And the only difference between the timeline you're experiencing and the timeline you want to experience is that mustard seed.
Yes.
So, you know, the inner trauma work is what we need. So to get back to the stigma of titles.
Yes.
I resonated with being a witch in previous incarnations, but in this incarnation, I am 100% sure that I am an earth angel, that I don't know why I have that belief, but I just feel like
that's what resonates with you, though, doesn't it? So, like, it resonates with me that I am a witch and that I was in a previous life. So, I just feel like I've got more of a voice this time round than what I did previously.
Well, I feel like I had, and this sounds crazy, and people will probably start clicking off at this point, but I believe I had past life incarnations as a goddess, and not a very nice one.
Ah, right.
She was part of the Anunnaki, and actually, I don't want to demonize her. It's not that she wasn't a nice goddess, but she was an well, I don't want to get into the crazies, but I believe that if you know anything about the Anunnaki, there was Enki, Enlil, and the sister, which I don't even like to speak her name, but you can look her up.
Yeah.
And I think that Enki was a master geneticist, and his job was to alter the genomes and to create a higher state of consciousness with a cap.
Oh, yeah.
We want you to be able to work for us. We want you to be our slaves, but we don't want you to ever become as enlightened as we are. And I think the bad brother, who was the recognized heir to the throne, forced the Enki and sister to create basically a slave race. And fast forward a million years, I don't know how many years, but fast forward to now, there are more off-world entities here that have capitalized on that cap put on our consciousness. But I believe, as the sister and one of the geneticists, that me and Enki wrote into the human genome the 1111 code and the backdoor codes for the awakening, because of the guilt and shame that we felt at having to create that. We felt like monsters, and so we worked with the energy of the awakening at a predisposed time that the higher realms agreed upon. And so, like, you can only hold the human race slave for so long, and then you have to free them.
Exactly.
And we're at that point now where the human race is having the awakenings, the 111, 222, 333, 1247, whatever your number is the number that was written as a backdoor code to release you and free you from your slavery. And for those who get it, and those who don't aren't really there yet. But everybody will awaken in divine timing.
Yeah.
So
they've checked out before we've got to that point, to another life cycle. I've noticed certain people have checked out before, so they can have another life cycle to actually have that awakening. Like even the discussion, I've been disagreeing with someone over the LGBT community, and I think it's just the time that they were brought up and their programming for that time, the different religions that they were brought up with as well is going to go into that, like it's going to brainwash them into having those beliefs anyway. But I've always found it's quite a passionate thing for me to try and stand up for those people and give them a voice. But I just feel like I'm always arguing with these people that haven't woken up to the world that we're living in. But then I've been told recently, if I say, well, they've not woken up, then I haven't woken up, I've been told, because I should just let them be, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? If I'm saying they haven't, then I haven't woken up. So
everybody has a role. Okay, it's an orchestra. And so you have your trumpets, and then you have your orchestrator, the leaders. You have everybody. It's a very symbiotic machine. They all have to work in perfect coordinates with one another energetically to create the homeostasis that we're looking for the awakening to happen. So if it's something you feel very passionately driven by, and you've done your shadow work, and there's no resentment or anger or pushback, then you could very well be a trumpet, like you're Gabriel. It's time to awaken. We're here. And those people, I believe that's what Rich does. He's a trumpet. I don't always vibrate where he is.
No, I don't agree with anything he says sometimes.
But I see what he's doing. He's kind of like, and I hope he never watches this, but he's kind of like Jerry Springer, or he started as, because he's matured and
he's
grown
changed so much from the beginning.
Right, but he started off kind of as the Jerry Springer of tarot, and then that that old soul, that higher self of his, in between his little, well, this guy's no good for you, and that one's a loser, and you need to move on. And, the 3D based tarot readings he does comes in this old soul, this old wisdom around manifestation and higher realms. And that's his true calling. That's his true calling.
He's
and
so
he's
natural with it.
Well, he's finally stepping into it. For the longest time, it was all about, making the money. But he needed that money in order to put him in a place where he could initiate change comfortably.
Yeah.
Well,
I even did a video recently. He was saying about how he never wanted to do tarot card readings because of the stigma of what people think of it. And there's obviously people within the tarot community that make it sound like it's a load of mumbo jumbo. And that kind of gives us a bad representation when we're actually trying to help people to have their awakening and manifest these good things into their life that they want, which is why I think it's so important that people do watch these videos, because it teaches the manifestation.
Right. Well, so the important thing about being a trumpet is to know that you sound the trumpet, but then you don't go out and start, like, you're the trumpet, you're not the coordinator. You know what I mean? It's like, so if you're pushing for change and in people that aren't ready to change, you are like your energy field is like a leaking boat.
Yes.
So if you want to change the way people look at the LGBTQ plus whatever they call now, because every day they add a new one, right? But if you are an advocate or a voice for that, then you're a seed planter. You just drop them seeds everywhere you go, but you don't go back and dig them up to see if they took root.
No. I will openly admit I had issues with it growing up. I was very embarrassed by it. I didn't want to tell people about what was going on at home. If people asked me, I'd deny it. I'd say, no, it's just my mum's friend. But I've reached a point as an adult where I had friends come to me and say to me, I need to talk to somebody. I think I might be gay. And because of my upbringing, they thought that I would understand, when I was probably one of the worst people that they could have approached with that at that point. But I was 18. I was really angry still with the world. I was angry with the fact that this had happened. But it made me open my eyes and open my mind to understanding the world that we live in. And love is love at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what shape will come. What
doesn't have an avatar.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, it might, but it's not like your soul is your soul. And I believe, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe a lot of the people that resonate with being a boy or a girl, but their avatar is the opposite.
Yeah.
They probably had many, many incarnations as that, and then come into this lighter, because we are creating light. I mean, just today we had telecommunications go down because of solar flares. I mean, the light is coming in, it's coming in strong, and you can adapt, or you'll shed this body and you'll come back with a new one.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that are exiting the planet right now are mostly people who didn't take care of their avatar, or who had let their avatar go to the point of no return.
Yeah.
I was almost there. I'm hoping, praying, because I have a mission and I don't want to start all over again, awakening to remember who I am. I'm hoping that it's not too late for me to undo all of the toxicity and chemicals and stuff that I put into this body. And that's a process that a lot of light workers are working with right now, is we're starting to homestead or eat organic foods, or we're trying to we're downloading apps. I got an app on my phone, it's called Yucca, and it has a I don't know if you can see it, but it has a carrot.
Oh, yes.
And so if you download that, when you go grocery shopping, you can scan foods and it'll tell you if it has carcinogens or additives that are toxic for the body in it.
Yeah.
And so, if it's green, you can eat it. some of them are rated like 60 out of 100, but it's green. And that means it might be high in calories or high in fat. And it could have a negative impact on the body if consumed too much or, you know, in excess. But if it's green, you can buy it and know that you're feeding your body something that is not poisoned or laden with, you know, hormones or additives or, you know, they just found out. Now I'm going off on a tangent. I promise I'll come right back. But I just found out that Cheerios, General Mills, has a lawsuit against them because a truther, decided that had money, decided to pay an independent company to analyze their Cheerios. Yeah. And found that General Mills was putting hormone blockers. Wow. In their Cheerios. Now, I don't know about you, but when my baby was little and could first had teeth and could eat stuff, Cheerios was something that was always in my diaper bag.
Because they're just as a snack, aren't they?
Yeah. So be very aware of the things that you're putting in your body. Now I'll get off my tangent. We'll come back to the heart of the matter.
Well, in a way, if you don't put the good food into your body, you're even cursing your own body and giving yourself a hex. So,
well, now intention is important because a lot of people consume things without intending to. It's hidden from them. They have, once you know, you can't not know, but if you don't know, you don't know. And so that's why I always tell people, bless your food, you know, because you don't know what you're putting in your body until you research and know what you're putting in your body. And so, you know, just put your hands over it and shift the energy and say anything I haven't given permission for has no authority here. And again, you know, spirit keeps channeling through me and bringing me back to topic. Topic is all about authority, energetic authority, claiming your space and your energy in the world, which is what hexes are. So there's a viral video, I don't know if it's true or not, about the Prime Minister of, it's either Palestine or Israel, one of the warring. I don't follow it. I believe that those are the old Anunnaki gods and they're at war with one another and let them figure it out. But one of them went in a public forum, like the World Economic Forum or something. I don't even know what it was. Somebody shared it with me and I just, you know, I don't get real involved in that stuff. So I briefly watched it and clicked off. But he actually cursed the opposing party, calling a curse down on them. And then within a minute, dropped dead. Literally on camera in front of the world, drop dead. And so curses are energy, and you can, we are now, not back 10 years ago, but now we are in what I would like to call a karmic return. We just had all of Saturn's activity for how long? Retrograde, you know, we're going back over all the things we learned. And so karma is almost instantly now. And so, you know, if you're going to be practicing intention work, which people call witchcraft, but it's really intention work. You go to a Catholic church and they light incense and they chant and they pray, and that's all witchcraft. It's all intention work. It's ritual. This is what
makes me laugh so much with the Catholic Church, that they tell us that it's witchcraft, it's wrong, it's evil, it's connected to the devil, and it's not. If you actually look at the stories within the Bible, Jesus was actually a witch.
But I want to go back real quick and say it can be. We choose service to self or service to others. And if you are service to self oriented, you can use intention work and ritual against other people.
Yes. Like protect. I do protection rituals to protect myself from toxic people.
Well, and that's where these people, when they're coming out of the woodwork and saying to you, hey, Lucy, I could really use some help. I think I've been cursed. Okay. Well, the thing is if you think it, you've already created it.
Exactly.
Because you are a creator being from a creator race, from the original creator, and everything you believe. If you believe the world is round, the world is round. Exactly. There will be physical evidence to prove you right. Okay? Because as within, so without. If you think it's a flat earth, you will find all kinds of videos and evidence and maps and things proving that the earth is flat, because
my nephew believes the earth is flat, and the whole family laugh at him, but he believes, and he's done his research, and if you even listen to him, it does make sense, but I still don't believe it.
Well, the thing is nothing exists.
No.
It's all the matrix. Nothing exists but your belief of what exists. And so, like I said, if you believe that, you know, Biden's a horrible, horrible person and he's the devil and he's this, that, or the other, then for you, there will be all kinds of evidence out there in the world to validate that belief, to prove that belief, because why? As within, so without. And then if you believe that the other guy, which my dad totally thinks that Trump is the devil incarnate, and he, you know, he's just trying to fool people and kill people, and he's a horrible person, and, you know, the insurrection was real and he should burn in hell for all of it. And people who have a belief system will always create an external evidential experience to validate it. And so it's the same thing. That's what the twin flame journey is supposed to teach you, that the mirror is that nothing really exists but you. Yeah. Your twin is you.
Exactly.
You know, it's not you, it's your shadow, it's your fears. It, you know, they represent the part of you that you won't face or look at. And so is the world is the world or earth flat or round? Yes.
It's all about how we perceive it. One person's perception is another. This could be someone else's perception of it.
You know, that's what's so great about Geminis, because for Geminis, this and that are both true.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Gemini moon, so I completely understand.
There you go. So, you know, Geminis tend to be, yes, in their distorted view, they could be wishy-washy, undecisive, left and right. But when they're in their authority, when they're in their creative authority or energetic power, they understand the matrix is an illusion, and this and that are both true. And so there shouldn't be a division. If you want to call yourself a witch, then that's your belief system. That's what you're creating. It's the experience you want to have. And who am I to tell you that's wrong?
Exactly.
Right? So what I'd like to tell your viewers is, once you awaken to the fact that you are creator source, having an experience in a human body and not the other way around. You're not a human having a spiritual experience. You're actually all of spirit having a human experience. I often use cards, I don't know why, as a model.
Yeah, it's a good idea though.
So you get 2 cards, okay? Let's say it's 1 card. You only have 1 card.
Yeah.
And this card splits in 2. Same card, or you rip it in half. There's a better analogy. You take 1 card, you rip it in half. Now you got 2 pieces, of 1 whole. Okay? So let's say it's a piece of glass. I break it in half. Okay? And I take half of that mirror glass and I put it in a tree for the birds to, you know, look at themselves and preen themselves. And then I take the other one and I put it underneath a candle to shine the light out into the world, right? They both have mission, they have purpose, they have a reason for being there. So, but the bird, or the mirror that the bird is engaged with, has no idea that there's another piece of itself in another experience having a total, they're not aware of each other, right? But they're quantumly tangled because they're one entity in 2 different experiences, right? So, you know, in the dream state or 5D, they may have dreams about one another or an experience, because that's the whole twin flame thing, right? But the truth is that they are having their own experience, and they are completely unaware of any other parts of itself having other experiences in the matrix. But then when you awaken and you start connecting energetically to all of your soul pieces, all of the collective, and you find what they call the inner union, now you get to namaste, right? The divine within me recognizes and honors the divine within you. And although, you know, you chose to be Lucy Ann and I chose to be Tracie, we are still one.
Yeah.
And your experiences are your experiences you chose to have, and I have no right to not honor that.
No. Well, it's our soul contract, isn't it? We make that decision before we come into this earth plane.
So when people say,
my bracelet's
so
it's fun, dude.
When people say I'm cursed and I need your help breaking that curse, shadow work is really the only way to do that, because it's a core belief system that is out of alignment with love. Yeah. It is fear. The opposite of love is not hate. Hate is just a passionate portrayal of love. The opposite of love is fear. And fear, if you were to give the devil a name, I would call it fear. Yeah. Which comes with all the little tiny caveats of attachment and illusion and codependency and addiction, and, you know, but it all falls under fear because we manifest those demons within ourselves through fear. So if somebody says, listen, you know, my house is haunted, bad things are happening, family members are getting sick, it's a collective consciousness in the home that is connecting with fear, and therefore manifesting physical evidence and physical hardship in the body that is in alignment with the fear energetically. It's like, I'm afraid that I am dying, so therefore what are you doing? You're creating.
You're going to manifest it.
Exactly. Not always, because sometimes our higher self is the knight in shining armor, saves the day, comes in and says, you know, okay, you entertained this fear long enough. It's time for you to look at it and deal with it and release it. Back to love, back to love, back to love, right? But a lot of people don't. And they will possibly, in this incarnation, choose that until they leave. And it's not our job to break their curse. It's our job to educate them that they're creating it. And then it's our job to, if they ask, only if they ask, because you need permission to get in anybody's energy. One of the things that I had to learn the hard way as an empath, you know, like I was putting my tentacles out and reading people at the mall, and, you know, and then I wondered why I'd go home exhausted and feeling like I had no energy for nothing. I had to learn how to protect my energetic field. I'm hearing biome. I don't know. I channel, so I don't know what a biome is.
What's that?
I don't know. Biome, BIOM is what I'm hearing. I don't know. People can look it up. I don't know. I just channel. It comes in and I push it out.
The only thing I can think of that sounds like that is, do you remember the film Biodome? I don't know if you remember that. It was about this big glass thing that was set up, and it was a comedy, and they had these two, a bit like Beavis and Butthead, that they broke into the biodome and messed up all the plant system and all that was going on. I think Kylie Minogue was even in it, but that's what it sounded like.
So that would be like a biological, come on, spirit, what do we got here? Ecological system.
Yeah.
Right? So, like the perfect system.
Like the perfect ecosystem.
Exactly. that, you know, so fear can have its own ecosystem, I guess is what I want to say is, you know, whatever you're planting in your garden is what you're going to harvest. And so if you don't want to be cursed, then claim your space, claim your energy, and let go of the fear. Actually, I take it a step further. I'd look at, when did this fear first manifest, and what emotion is it attached to? Is it attached to unworthiness? Is it attached to victimization? Is it attached to attack? You know, a lot of kids were attacked as children. They were beat up by, you know, other people or parents or aunts or uncles, or they were sexually molested, or they just were attacked. And so they grow up with this fear of always being attacked, and then it manifests in their home, it manifests in their biome, right? Their own ecological system, which is in alignment with what their creator source within them is creating. And so when you're not aware that you are a creator being, you're still creating all the time. But you're not creating what you want to experience, you're creating chaos. And so until you kind of get behind the eyes and master the mind and the ego, and you say, mama's home, thank you, ran the show long enough, I'm back, I'm in the driver's seat, and now I get to make decisions in the 3D matrix in alignment with the experiences I'm creating for my future. Right? And a lot of people don't know how to do that. And I'm one of them. I'm still struggling with money. Like I'm so deep rooted in that old belief system that people with money are evil. If I were to win the lottery, that's why Spirit's not giving it to me right now, because you know what I would do with it? I'd give it all away. I would be like, oh, this person's homeless, this person's this person's that, these dogs need this, these cats. And I would literally give it all away, and then I wouldn't be able to use it for my mission work, which is what it's supposed to be used for. It's supposed to get me on a plane or on a bus or in a car and take me to a stage somewhere to spread the light, to plant the seeds, to awaken the masses. And you know, you stand up on a stage and start planting seeds, you don't get to follow people around to see if it took root. So for those of you that watch you and they come to you and they're like, I want you to cast a spell on my wicked stepmother because she's been mean to me my whole life. They need to understand that karmically, we are in a karmic return right now.
100%.
So if you look at it in a 3D model as a contract, right? Here's a contract. This is my karmic contract right here. And it says, you hurt me. You owe me penance. I don't know how to spell penance, but there it is. So here's your karmic contract. Okay. This is an energy. Okay. God, I can't even tell you how many karmic contracts I broke on my twin flame journey. I'm like, oh, you know. So I did meditations where I literally used my imagination and put the person I was angry at, or the person I felt hurt me or did me wrong, across from me, and I held this up. It was all imaginary. You know, people call it meditation, but I have a hard time meditating because I'm a Virgo all over the damn chart. So my mind never shuts down. So what I do instead is I fantasize.
Yeah, that's what I do as well. I'm very good at visualizing things. So I use my imagination when I'm meditating.
So I sat the person across from me. So, you know, if somebody come to me and said, can you put a spell on so-and-so because they hurt me, I'm going to lead them to this. I'm going to say, you need to sit down. You need to do, first of all, you need to ask yourself, what did they do to you that was so horrible? And can you kind of change your perspective like the Hanged Man? And can you see it from their point of view? Like maybe they were abused by their parents. Maybe they you know, if they're drunk and they hurt you, then maybe their parents were drunks and hurt them. Hurt people hurt people.
Exactly.
Right? And we're in a karmic return. So even if you can't find love or forgiveness, you can at least find acceptance and say, this is God's realm. I don't have to put a curse on you or a spell on you because we're in a karmic return. Everybody's earning their karma right now. We're in a karmic clearance, right? You either clear the karma or it will destroy you. It's like the walls start crushing in and they get tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter until the person who did the wrong literally has a tower moment and has a defining moment of penance, you know? Or if they choose not to, then they will eventually exit this realm and this body and be cleansed in the 5D or 6D and brought back to, because the 1,000 years of God's love is here. It's upon us. It's coming, right? And God's years are possibly much different than human years. So we don't know. So I did the visualization. You know, I had a man, I dated a young man because we were young for 6 years who was extremely abusive. Killed me twice. I had 2 near-death experiences at his end. And he died in a car accident 10 years after I broke up with him. And I still harbored resentment and anger. And I couldn't have a healthy relationship with a man because I was fearful that every man was going to be like him. And so I had to go on this huge healing journey. And I imagined him sitting across from me and I held the contract up. I said, you hurt me and you owe me. And in my imagination, because I'm kind of controlling this way sometimes, I told him, you are here to listen only. You have no voice. You cannot speak.
You only hear me.
Right. And you can't shut down your ears either. They're wide open. You're going to hear every word I say. And I sat him down and I told him everything I never got to say. I opened my throat chakra up because if I ever spoke up to him, I got hurt, possibly even nearly killed. And so this was the first time I actually got to speak and be heard and say, well, you did this and you did that and you know, and blah, 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 blah.
As well for yourself, because I went through a relationship with he was an older guy and I was only 16 myself, so in a way it was grooming. It is grooming when I look back at it now, but if I didn't do as I was told, he would physically harm me,
right?
So
or threaten to physically harm someone you love.
I would love to be able to sit opposite him and say, you hurt me, and for him to listen to me and to know the pain that he caused. But he doesn't care in this life, but I'm sure his soul would.
Right. Well, and what I did, I took it a step further. So when I was done ranting and raving and processing and purging and just letting it all out, I looked at him. Now, remember, he's dead. So you can do this with people who are alive, too. But I believe his soul was actually, I called that soul in. He was sitting there and he had tears running down his face, but he never spoke. And I looked at him and I took a big red marker. And on my table, it was funny, I had one of these. It was like a little bowl that I could burn stuff in. And I drew a circle. Now, remember, this is my imagination. This is my healing work that I did through fantasy work. And I drew a circle around it and a line through it. And I said, paid in full. And I looked at him and I said, you didn't ask for it. You may not deserve it. You may never get to the place where you want it. But me being angry at you is like drinking poison, expecting you to be affected. And so as of this day, I return you with love back to 0 point energy. You owe me nothing across all timelines, all incarnations, all reincarnations. I don't want to see you. I don't want to reincarnate with you ever again to balance this debt. Doesn't mean if we're soul family, we can reincarnate together again, but we will never be teaching each other this lesson.
No.
This lesson is integrated, learned, and I am done. And I took it and I ripped it up and I lit it on fire and I put it in the bowl, and he looked at me and he said, "May I speak now?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I am so sorry." He said, "I just want you to know something you didn't know." He said, "I was sexually molested by my uncles, 3 of them, all of my young life. And my father was a drunk and was an abusive because his brothers abused him. And he physically beat us, shot us with rubber pellet guns. Age of 3, he would turn us loose in the backyard and say, 'Run.' And the one that couldn't run fast enough took the bullet." And he went on and explained to me things in the etheric that I never knew in life. And he said, "I never had a role model of love. My father treated my mother the way I treated you, and I thought that was what love was." He said, "I never loved anybody as deeply as I loved you." He said, "But I thought that was the way a man was supposed to treat the woman that he loves." And he says, "Since I've died, I've recognized that what I was doing was ancestral karma."
Well, it's funny you say that, because my person that did the same sort of thing, his father sexually abused and beat him. And what did he then do? He then sexually abused his own child, and then would choose women younger than him that he could control and groom to do what they told him to do. So, and I think it is,
well, because
the
we
ancestral.
choose. There's only 2. We're in a dualistic experiment. And so you choose victim or victor. And you choose service to self or service to other. And so what they did was they were put in a survival mode where if it's going to be me or you, it's always going to be you. And, you know, that was an eye-opening experience for me. And it was a great model for me to do my shadow work with all the other people that I felt I had karmic debt with. And I come from a long history of witches and warlocks and spiritual gurus versus Christian. You know, it's like the war of the spiritual war between good and evil, but it wasn't really good and evil. It was just 2 different points of access.
Different perspectives. I was lucky that I had perspective on both sides, because it helped me understand both worlds.
Right, right. Well, not everybody has that luxury. You and I, that's why you and I incarnated in the families that we incarnated in, because we needed that in order to balance our own masculine and feminine energy. And we need, you know, I was in distorted feminine. I was the victim. Poor, poor, pitiful me. I was the middle child. My older sister was a bully. My little sister was a baby. She got babied by everybody. And I was the forgotten one, the invisible one, the one that nobody, you know, gave any attention to or whatever. And I was the mediator. It was like if there was ever any contention in the family, I was the one that smoothed everything over. And, you know, I was the voice of reason. And I never really ever felt like I belonged in any of it.
Yeah, my sister's the middle child as well, and she's always the one that calms everybody down when we're arguing. She's the mediator.
Right. Right.
I'm the youngest. My brothers and sisters going, "Oh, it's because you're the youngest, you get away with everything." And I'd feel like, because I'm the baby, that I didn't get the same treatment. So I'd always
Right. You were always coddled.
Yes.
You weren't allowed to wear makeup. You weren't allowed to wear clothes that you liked, or you weren't allowed to go out on a date. You know, it's like your older sister. For me personally, my older sister got to date at 12, and I wasn't allowed to date till I was like 15, you know. And my older sister and I had a huge karmic lesson that we chose to clear in this lifetime, where in a previous lifetime, at least the one I remember, I killed her. Not intentionally, but we were fighting. We were Native American girls, and we were out berry picking, and she announced that she was in love with one of the warrior boys in the tribe. And what she didn't know was he had been visiting my tent too. We were only a year apart, her and I, in that past life recall that I had. We were only a year apart, and he was playing both of us for a fool. and we had an argument and a fight over him, and she shoved me, and there were bushes behind her, and I shoved her back. And what I didn't know was that behind the bushes was a cliff. And she fell through the bushes and over the cliff. And like in my past life recall, I reached for her. I tried to catch her. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I loved her more than I ever loved the boy. It was just sibling rivalry. It was just an argument over, we were too close in age. So in this lifetime was the same thing. There were 3 years between us, but you would think it was only 1 year because I was always on par with her. Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Actually, I was surpassed her in many ways. I remember we'd go get our pictures taken, and the photographer would say, big sister, move to the left. And she'd move to the left, and he'd say, no, not you, that one.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, and she's like, I'm 3 years older than her, and she's not the big sister. But there was always this sibling rivalry between us, and she was a Taurus. And she could be very stubborn and mean, verbally abusive, sometimes physically abusive, but everybody wrote it off as it's just sisters, sister sibling rivalry. But I felt victimized. I'm like, how come nobody protects me? How come she doesn't get in trouble when she blackens my eye? How come, so to kind of educate your viewers on karma, ancestral, past life, and even future life, because if you don't get it right in this lifetime, you're going to have to come back and do it all over again. We are now creating the heaven on earth experience. It's not here yet. It's here energetically, but it's not, everything. So Spirit always gives me visualizations. And this visualization came from Jew, actually. Remember Jew, Helena? She brought it to my awareness, and I've used it ever since, where if you take a string and you bend it in half, and then you twist it up, right? Yeah. You get it nice and tight. Well, you hold it at the top, and it will unwind from the top down. The bottom's just going all chaotic. It's like flinging back and forth. Where all the order is at the top. So it doesn't unravel from the bottom up. It's unraveling from the top down. So energetically, heaven on earth is already here, but it's unraveling from the top tiers or timelines down. Yeah. And so you won't see the physical evidence right now. What you're seeing is chaos.
Yes.
You're seeing the flailing
we've got at the moment. There is still a lot of chaos in this world. That's why, as you were saying earlier, for the next generations ahead, it will be more like heaven for them by that point, because we would have evolved a bit further.
Well, because us, the way showers, I don't know about you, but I've been hugely pushed lately, and I never had an interest in this, not a day in my life. I've always been a consumer. I was raised in a family where paper plates, plastic fork, like consume, and I never had any guilt or shame or connection with it. All of a sudden, I'm like,
you become conscious of it.
Very conscious, and not only conscious, but I'm feeling a responsibility to create change in it. And I'm like, okay, well, we don't have any recycling centers around here. And I would have to drive, like 30 miles to take a bag of water bottles, empty plastic bottles, to a recycling center. And that pisses me off because I'm like, I don't have time or energy to do that. So I put them in the garbage, but every time I do, I get this pang in my heart, like, oh my God, and then I question, should I drive that 30 miles? Should that be something I do once a week? And then I think, well, maybe there are other light workers on that, and this isn't, although you're aware of it.
I never used to think about recycling. It's only in the last, I'd say 5 years, 6 years, that I've actually become conscious of doing it. And I've had disagreements with friends that have come to visit, and I'll say to them, can you put that beer can in the recycle bag? And then they put it in the normal bin, and then I've got to fish it out. And I've had a disagreement with a friend recently, and I said, I don't know how many times I need to say it when you come over, please put it in this recycle, because otherwise I've got to go through the dirty bin because otherwise I feel conscious that that's going to damage something or hurt somebody or an animal.
Or you could even just tell them, just leave your can on the counter. I'll take care of it.
Leave it on the worktop and I'll sort it later. And then I'll find.
I wish I live out in the middle of the woods. So like I'm in a very rural area, and the big cities are either a half hour that way or a half hour that way. And so, you know, it's a huge, huge undertaking when I've got so many other places that I'm focused and putting energy out into the world. And so sometimes my higher self is like, you can't fix everything.
No.
You know, take care of what you can take care of, and let what you can't take care of be taken care of by other light workers who are here for that purpose.
Yeah. It did make me realise, though, that as much as I know it was something to help the planet, why am I getting myself so angry over someone not putting it in the right bin? Like, there's more important things to be worrying about in the world, whether or not I put it in the right bin.
Well, and what we're here to do is to teach. We're not really here to change people.
No.
We're just here to teach. It's like, okay, well, if I were you, I'd do it this way. And, you know, I, as a reader, not just tarot, but I mean, I don't even need tarot cards to read. I use them for a visual prompt for other people, or a prop for other people to feel like they're included in the reading. And I'm not just spewing stuff out that I pull out of the ethers, which is exactly what I do. And so, but as my higher team calls me an oracle. You're an oracle. That's your title. And my higher consciousness comes from the Moira collective, which is the Mary collective, Earth Angels, you know, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, you know, all the Marys, the Moira, which you know, half of my lineage is from Irish or Ireland. So Moira, when I channeled that, I spelled it Moyra, and I literally was shown a vision. Like, they're like, no, it's Moira. Which also is the spelling of the three fates, is the Moira.
Yeah.
And so I didn't understand. I still don't think I fully understand what that means, but they tell me that's where my collective consciousness is from, is the Moira collective, which is divine feminine. You know, it's
divine feminine. Virgin Mary, she is the divine feminine.
Right. And you know, there are people who believe, and like I said, be careful what you believe, because all of it's choice. But there are people that believe that Mary Magdalene was actually the twin flame of Jesus.
I've heard that concept as well, and even down to someone saying to me that the way the Bible's portrayed her is so wrong to how it actually happened. That it was his wife. They loved each other.
Well, and they demonized her as a harlot because they were a power couple, and they didn't want people to know, you know, that a woman in those days and times could have any kind of authority or power. Right? It's like, oh, Mary Magdalene's gaining popularity, let's make a whore out of her, right? That's a quick way to get her back where she belongs.
Lilith as well. She was told you have to do what your husband tells you, and she wanted to be equal. And then what happens? She gets banished from the Garden of Eden.
Right. So, well, and that's Lilith.
So it's a similar narrative about, because we won't do as we're told, well, you'll be ostracized.
Right. Exactly. Well, in Lilith, so I don't know about you, but if you look at your chart, my Lilith is in Aries, in my midhaven, conjunct or trined or something with my Saturn. So I have a lot of karma clearing that I'm helping the collective with, and it starts inside of me around the scorned feminine.
Yes.
The oppressed, the scorned, the disempowered divine feminine. And so, you know, way back when I first had my awakening, I channeled a message called the rise of the divine feminine. And it's one of the most watched not podcasts, but lives that I did. I did it in my pajamas with my hair piled up on top of my head. I looked like crap. But I was like, it came in so suddenly. I was like, I got to sit down right now and record it. And so I went live too, because I was like, out here, it takes 2 days for a video I make to get uploaded. And I felt like it was coming in so sudden for me that it needed to be put out there right away. So I just went live.
Yeah.
So it was real time. It's like, okay, time to channel. This is the rise of the divine feminine. And I don't even remember what all I brought through back then. But, you know, I never watch my videos. Do you ever watch your videos?
I watched the one we did, and I found that really awkward watching that. It made me cringe. I probably, if I watched it now, it'd be even more cringy because my life has changed so much since then.
Right.
But when I watch the videos that I've uploaded, I don't mind, because I always check them after Nat's edited them anyway. So I like to see what the structure is after she's edited bits out. And I was worried that it was going to come across like I was being too egotistical, or that I didn't care, and I didn't want it to come across like that. But once I've looked back at them, I don't feel like that at all. I do still feel a little bit kind of embarrassed when I see myself on the screen, and like if I go around to my partner's
Me too.
house,
I came with wet hair.
yeah. When I go to my partner's house, he had YouTube on his television screen, and I could see my face on the screen, and it was really surreal the first time, and I was like, I don't think I like this. But now I've got used to it. And I even said to my partner about how a year ago when we did the podcast, I was so scared about doing the YouTube channel, and now I don't care. I actually really enjoy it. I thoroughly love making videos. I can't wait to make the next one. Sometimes I put too many videos up on shorts because I enjoy making them, but I think, oh, I'm putting too many up, people are not going to enjoy them. But I'm doing it out because I enjoy it so much.
Well, and you've got to follow that joy, because that's your compass.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing something and you're not getting joy from it, then you're not doing something that you're supposed to be doing, you know? Right now, I haven't uploaded any videos at all. It's been like 2 weeks, and I've had people email me. They're like, Tracie, where'd you go? And I'm like, honestly, I felt exhausted. I felt like I was no longer enjoying my work. It was more work than it was. It felt difficult, and mine is all from the internet. It's like, you know, I could create all day long, but the internet limits me, and I'm way out in the country. And my 14-year-old son has been through a lot of moves and a lot of changes in his life. And the only thing he's ever asked me for is, Mom, just let me graduate without moving again. You know, I just want to graduate with the people that I've gotten close to, and I want to stay in the school I'm in. And I'm like, dude, you're killing me, because living where we're living is really limiting my potential when it comes to uploading videos. And he's like, please, Mom, only 4 more years, you know? So lately I've been exploring, you had talked about using the T-Mobile plug. Did that work for you? Do they use cell towers?
It was a few years ago that I used it, and it was we called it a dongle. It was a little thing that I would plug in a USB connector into the side of my computer, and I just topped it up as and when I needed it, because our broadband internet constantly used to go down where I was living at the time. It turns out they had the cables laid, and that was why our internet kept going, and we were supposed to have one of the best providers, and it wasn't. So my mum got this dongle, and we used it as a backup. And even when I've moved house and we've got that period of time before it's installed, I've topped it up and I've started using it again, because no matter where I am, I can get internet. I could be in the middle of a park, I could be in the woods, I can still get internet. And that's what I think is so great about it.
What are the speeds like? So if you did like an hour video, how long would it take with the dongle to upload?
I don't know, because as I say, it's been a few years since I did it. It was quite quick with the uploads back then, so I presume it'd still be the same. And from what I can gather, T-Mobile are one of the better ones to use for that sort of thing. Because I even looked into getting as a backup. It's like they call it I think it's 5G hub, which has got a chip in it like your mobile phone would have, but it runs on the data the same way that your mobile phone would. And I looked into doing that, but it was going to cost me more money than the broadband. And I thought, why am I wasting that when it could even be a slower speed than what I would have on broadband? But the dongle is definitely the better option, I think, because wherever you are,
I'm going to look into that, because if I make an hour video, and if anybody out there has ever watched any of my videos, I channel. So I can't speed it up. It's not like I'm going to, you know, I'm not a tarot reader. I don't just slap 8 cards down and do a 10-minute reading, and there you go. I channel energy, and it takes a hot minute sometimes for the messages, because I'm doing collective readings. I'm tapping into many, 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 many different storylines. So I'll say, well, for somebody it means this, and for somebody else it means this, and so I'm like literally channeling storylines that's going to hit the right people at the right time with the right story.
I tried to do a reading where I was doing it for the collective, and what I found for myself was I then ended up reading it as if I was reading it for someone that was going through the same experience of myself. And I was like, well, that's not going to work, because I haven't got that person's energy in order for me to read for them. I'm used to having someone in front of me like this, so I can read as I go. So it was difficult for me to do it that way. So the only way around it I could still incorporate the tarot was to do the card of the day. Or I even thought about doing pick a pile and then get someone to pick which one they want for the day, and that's their card for the day. Because I didn't also want to take it too much away from yourself or from Rich, because there's so many other people doing tarot, and I didn't really want to start. You know how Rich gets accused of copying, when, as he said, I take it as a compliment if someone copies me, because if they've learned.
I have never. Now I only have like 5,400 subscribers. I've got over 2,000 on Facebook. I don't know how many I've got on Instagram. I don't even post. I have it set up so anything I post on Facebook, because it's a meta company, just instantly post to Instagram. But I have never experienced any negativity at all in my comments or on my lives. I had to assign a moderator once, but I think it was a bot. I don't even think it was a real person. It kept like repeating scripture over and over again. It just was spamming my comment section. But I think that's happened maybe twice in the entirety of 6 years that I've been doing this. But my channel don't grow. It stays right about here, because, you know, in the beginning, I was told that I was the oracle for 3 waves of twin flames, and that I didn't have to go looking for them. They would find me. And so
we all did find you.
And they did, and they still, you know, occasionally do. It's been kind of a sleep. It's like a winter for me. It's like I haven't had any new twins. I'm waiting for the DMs to hit up. I'm waiting for the DMs to start contacting me saying, hey, I just heard about this twin flame thing. I think I might be one. Can you help me? Because that would just bring my heart so much joy.
I'm concerned about is this whole the twin flame cult. I feel that that's going to have put such a bad light on what we do, because of how they've manipulated people and made brainwashed all these.
That whole movie they put on Netflix, you know, it's like, but what they don't do, and Rich, if you're watching, here's a little message to you.
I have to tag you.
If you are approached by any TV producers that want you to do an interview with them on what you do as an entrepreneur and tarot reader, make sure you have a lawyer draw up in the contract that you get to approve final cuts. Because if you don't, they could have somebody splice it up and take all the negative things they can find and paint you in a picture that demonizes what you do, instead of raising awareness of how you're helping the collective. And so anytime, you know, I've never had to worry about that. Nobody wants to hear me, I guess. But if you're ever approached by some big, you know, Netflix or CBS or any of the, you know, they're all owned by, I won't even go there, because, you know,
it's not mentioned. I know what you mean.
Right. The unmentionables own it, and their reasons for getting you to be on their show are not probably what you think they are.
No.
And so, you know, final cut should be they have no rights to your content without your approval on the final cut. And so if you're watching, take advice from your old buddy pal Tracie, because, and that's for any spiritual advisor out there, because you know what I see coming. And my friend Julene is the one that brought this to my awareness. She's an astrologer, Jovi Star Astrology on YouTube. She told me she sees it in the planetary alignments coming up that, you know, we have free reign right now. We don't have to have licensure. We don't have to be trained. We don't have to be certified to do what we do. And she believes that's coming in the future because the nefarious ones are trying to silence us. So they're going to make everybody believe that we have to, like a nurse, you have to be trained to be a nurse. You have to be trained to be a spiritual advisor.
This means I think I've been learning this from as far back as I can remember. So I've got my whole life experience with tarot cards, but then someone could turn around and say to me, no, you need a certificate.
Right.
But my whole life learning it.
Right. You know, I don't even think that kids need to go to college. I think that everything they ever need, now that we have the internet, they can educate themselves on anything.
That's why
anything. And then have the life experience to marry with it.
I had 9 GCSEs. They weren't exactly high grades. So the highest I got was in English for C. And since leaving school, I've educated myself, and I've done courses. I've done healthcare courses. I've even done beauty courses because I find it all interesting. And
me too. I did all that. And here's the newest development. So I have an associate's degree in developmental psychology, which I was at I have a letter from my instructor showing that I was in my last semester to get my BA in developmental psych and going into my externship in order to graduate. And the school, so here I'm applying for a job because it's been kind of a winter here. I haven't made a whole lot of money. My channel hasn't grown a lot, but Spirit keeps telling me this is, you know, just do what you got to do to get through, because you're going to hit your glide and it's going to all start up again. But, you know, do what you got to do to get you there. And so I went out and I applied for a job, just 16 hours a week. I don't want it to be my main job. I just want to pad out my income a little bit until my spiritual calling is activated again, because I believe it will be. But anyhow, I'm going to be a personal care specialist for people with autism, Down syndrome, developmental disabilities, which is a collective that I've worked with most of my life and love to do. And I thought, well, if I can't do what I love to do here, because I kind of feel like divine timing's kind of interfering at the moment, then I'm going to do something else I love to do, you know? And so anyhow.
I found it so rewarding working with Down syndrome, autism, all the different learning disabilities. I found it so rewarding.
Yes. And they're all star seeds, every one of them.
Sorry?
They're all star seeds, every one of them. You know, so they're here to teach compassion and love.
They're such kind, gentle souls, and it used to give me a reason to get up every day and go to work. It wasn't monotonous, boring job, because I knew that they were going to make my day amazing. Right.
So that's I'm going to be doing a couple days a week of that. So I went to, when I applied, she's like, well, you know, we start people at $15.50 an hour, you know, US dollars. But because of your training, we could give you a significant amount more, but you'll have to give us a copy of your education. So I had no idea that my college went bankrupt and shut down. So I'm like, oh my God, how do I get my my physical degree burned in a fire at my sister's?
My certificates, they got burnt in a fire as well.
I think you and I might just be soul sisters, but
so the same soul.
we chose the same template probably. But so anyhow, I contacted the Board of Education, education.gov, and said, where are my transcripts? You know, when they went belly under, they have to legally archive them with the Department of Education. And they're like, oh yeah, absolutely, we have them, we'll get them out to you, you know. Well, a couple of days later, I get an email saying that they're gone. They were never sent. Anything pre 2011 is gone. Wow. And I graduated in 1999. And they're like, I'm like, so what does that mean for me? And they're like, well, unless you can find some kind of a letter or proof that you graduated and you like got your diploma, it has to be proof you got your diploma. All we can do is give you a letter showing that we have validation that you attended, but we don't have validation that you graduated.
Yeah.
And I'm like, seriously? So even then, so I'm still thinking in the back of my mind, is my higher self trying to throw roadblocks up so that I don't do this? Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I should be focusing on my business.
Well, I've seen that even with like my career path. Everyone who knows me knows that I've had a few jobs. I used to get very bored very easily, and I'd get cross with a situation, think I'm not doing this, and I'd walk out, because once upon a time you could walk out of one job and walk straight back into another, but this day and age you can't do that. And obviously as I've matured and realised that I can't do that, I've got bills that need paying, I haven't got mummy and daddy to put a roof over my head anymore, so it made me look at things in a completely different way. And that's why I think every time I've tried to do something that's not in line with doing this that I want to do, I get a roadblock. Even down to certificates, I tried to get copies of my GCSE certificates from when I left high school. I phoned the school because I didn't know who I needed to speak to. It took 6 months before someone came back to me and said to me, oh, I'm afraid your head of year doesn't go to this school, it doesn't work here anymore, but if you contact this exam board. And when I contacted the exam board, they wanted £35 per certificate. Now I've got 9 GCSEs. That's not even including my college certificates that I needed copies for as well. So it was, and I had to sit there and I had to weigh up what was the best option for me, because I can't financially afford to buy all of those certificates in one hit. So I've made the decision now that they're just going to have to just sit in the Excel with the company that do the exam board results, because I can't afford to buy the certificates. But
and put out there to the universe, because that's what I usually do when I hit a roadblock. I put it out to the universe. If this is meant for me, then clear a path for me.
Yeah.
You know, or give me an inspired idea of how to clear the path for me, you know. So right now, I'm like $15.50 is enough to pad out my income. I'm doing fine without it. I really don't have to do it. But the things I enjoy doing, you know, that little extra stuff like going to the movies, going out to dinner, spending money on new clothes, or just, you know, funny money.
Yeah.
I find that I don't have that like I used to. And so I'm like, well, if I work 2 days a week, part-time, it'll give me, you know, because my business gives me all the income I need to pay my bills. I just want money above and beyond my bills so I can have a little fun with life. And so I decided to go back to work. Now, if it don't work out, if I keep getting roadblocks, or if my boss ends up being toxic, or they put me with people that are not people that I feel are in alignment with what I am or who I am, I don't need it. I'm like, oh, I'll just bye. Thank you. No, thank you.
Something feels off when I've started a job. That tells me that there's something not right here, and I need to reevaluate what's best for my path. Even in learning disabilities, I was faced with bullying, for example, and I issued a grievance against the member of staff because I didn't think it was fair for them to treat me in that way in front of the residents or the clients, because I didn't want them to think that that was okay to treat me like that, because at the end of the day, I'm there to take care of them.
Well, and if they're treating you like that, what are they treating the clients like when nobody's looking? Because that's a power play, right? And
he was a senior member of staff.
Who are easy victims, easy targets.
So that's what I mean, is as much as I loved my job, I had to make a decision that for my own well-being, it was not good for me to stay in that position. And even after we did the grievance and it came back that they wanted us to continue working together, I said, for my well-being, I resign. I don't want to work in this environment. I love my clients, but I will not work with that person, because they make me so uncomfortable, which doesn't means that I can't give 110% to my clients then, because then I'm going to do all the time, which is not good for them. So,
so I don't mean to go off on tangents. We need to come back to what you wanted to cover, because my son gets home in just a little over 15 minutes, and he is 14, and he comes in hungry, and he doesn't care what I'm doing.
Bless him. I remember last time you said about it as well. You said to me, "Don't worry about noise," and I said, "You do what you got to do. It's your child at the end of the day."
Right. He comes in, the first thing he does is go for the refrigerator.
Oh.
So, but so basically, originally when you reached out to me, you wanted my input on, you know, how would you handle a client that wants you to hex somebody, or to break a hex from somebody, or to cast a love spell? First of all, love it just is. You can't force somebody to love you.
It's free will.
If you cast a spell on somebody and make them want you, then it's going to be obsessive, not love. It's not going to be love. It's not going to be what you're seeking. And it could literally backfire in your face and end up becoming toxic, you know, and you'll earn a lot. Right now, karma's instant, man. It's like, it could hit you 10 seconds after it comes out of your mouth, or it could take a week, but it's almost instantaneously. I mean, look at that guy, prime minister or whatever he was, literally said a curse, like a real spell on TV, on camera, cursing the opposing force, and he dropped dead. Literally dropped dead on camera. Now, is it artificial intelligence? Is it real? Did it really happen? I don't know. I really don't. But there's certainly a viral video going around that claims it's real.
The energy is going to backfire.
Right. So when somebody comes to you, if it were me, I would take them back to their trauma. Just say, well, you know, maybe you should sit down with a pen and paper and ask yourself about the worst memories you've ever had. You know, the ones where you say, I will never forget that. I will never forget that moment. I will never forget how it hit me, how it made me feel, what that person did, what that person said, and write it down. And then ask yourself, you know, knee-jerk reaction. Who are you holding accountable?
Yeah.
Are you blaming yourself? Are you blaming your parents? Are you blaming somebody else? It's putting things into perspective, and then ask yourself, why do you feel that you have the right to manipulate somebody else's behavior? And trust me, if they truly want to cast a spell on somebody else, and you tell them that it's not something that is in alignment with your integrity, they'll just find somebody else.
We'll find somebody else, but I don't want to be involved with that energetically, because it reflects badly on me.
So that comes back to that distorted feminine, where you just say, no is a whole sentence. No, sorry, wrong girl. You're going to have to get a hold of someone else.
But the other one I wanted to ask you about was, it was a friend of my editor's that approached her, and they believe that they've got a family curse. A member of their family, I think she said that they committed suicide, or they got killed quite young. And because of that happening, they feel that there's a curse on the family from that point. And as I said to her, it's all about how your projection of it is. If you believe that's what it is, and that's you're going to manifest it. And if you keep telling the family that, they're all going to believe the same thing, and then everyone's going to think the family is cursed. As you say, there is still such things of hexes and curses when it comes to witchcraft and things like that. But when it comes to things like that, I think it's just a how can I put it, a way of manifesting it so that it will cause problems later on in the family cycle.
Right. And I see it every day. It's the placebo effect. You know, one of two things would happen if you wanted to do an experiment on somebody, which is karmic. Don't do it.
No.
But we're going to play devil's advocate for a moment. Let's just say there is no law of karma, and you don't have to worry about tricking people. Let's say a client comes to you and they have a very strong belief that they're cursed, that everything they touch turns to dust, and nothing ever works out for them. And it started back when great grandpa murdered somebody, and ever since then the family's been cursed. The placebo effect would be, well, you could do an experiment, because there's one of two ways that a person reacts to this experiment. Is they're either healed by it, or they become further victimized by it. And so you say to them, okay, I'm going to do a ritual tonight at 10 o'clock. I would like you to light a candle, and I'd like you to set your intentions that we are going to break this family curse. And I want you to fully embody as if it's done. It's done. Yes. It's done. Yes. Okay. One of two things is going to happen. You could go watch the telly all night and not do anything. But the next morning, that person's going to contact you, and they're going to say, oh my God, it worked. It absolutely worked. I felt like this huge weight was lifted off of my shoulders. Everything, I started seeing signs and synchronicities, and things got so beautiful. And thank you, thank you, thank you. How much do I owe you? You know what I mean? Or they're going to contact you the next day and say, you are a nut job. Nothing changed, nothing shifted, nothing happened. And not only that, I received a phone call, and my best friend just, died, and my dog's vomiting, and my house is growing mold, and they will continue to create
as well. If you keep saying, I'm the victim, this keeps happening and that keeps happening, that will continue to happen.
Right. Just like if you go to, I just took my partner to bingo, and his dad sat there, and, well, actually it was more his sister, but they both did. All night long, they kept saying, I'm never going to win. This is not, I don't even know why I wasted my money and then they would sit there and they'd be waiting on one number, just one number. And I would hear one of them say, I know somebody else is going to get it before I get that number. I just know it. And next thing you know, their number comes up as the next number. The next number they're going to call, they haven't called it yet, but the next number they're going to call is your number. They get all excited, and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to win. And instead of being excited, I hear him say, watch, somebody else will get it before he calls that number. And that's exactly what happens. Somebody will yell, bingo. And he's like, I knew it. Yeah. And I'm like, you totally manifested that. It's like,
it's going to happen.
Right. Because the universe is always seeking to please us. Right. It's like whether you ask for something good or ask for something bad, you are the creator in an experience, and the universe bends to your will. And so if you don't know that you're a creator being, you're creating a whole lot of bullshit without knowing that you're actually the one creating it. And it goes deeper than that, obviously, because sometimes you have a good heart, you're a good person, you think positive thoughts, and you still have bad experiences. But then you got to look at those experiences and look at the people around you and say, how did we co-create that? What was the majority belief in that? Maybe you're the odd man out. Maybe you're in a workplace where everybody else is the naysayer, and you're the only one that has the spark of light. And so you'll experience the majority rule. It's like we're co-creating with other consciousness. And if their consciousness decides that everything's bad, then the bad experience manifests, like a teeter-totter. You got one pebble over here, and then you got 50 billion over here. And which end do you think is going to be the dominant end? And that's why there's so many light workers that are incarnated in physicality at this time, to tip the scales back toward the light. And it's going to happen no matter what. You don't have to go out and knock on doors. You don't have to be Jehovah's Witness and, hey, we want you to believe the way we believe. We want you to do what we do. We want to change the world by changing you. Well, the truth of the matter is the world's going to change with or without us. And we're like a bunch of fleas. And if Gaia doesn't get the help that she needs, she will shed us like a bunch of fleas. And it's already happening. People are dying in droves, Some chose that. That was their life path. They're like, okay, well, we're going to lighten Gaia's load now. And so, you know, big times for that is eclipses. We got a huge, massive eclipse coming. I think it's in April. Is that right? Anyhow, it's going to make an X. The sun's going this way. The moon's going this way. They're going to make an X right over top of me, right where I live. And we will have 3 full minutes where the sun is blocked out where I live. It's going to be, and I wanted to tell you,
it's one of those things. They don't happen very often. I remember being a child at school and we had one, and everyone having their special glasses on to watch it. But you're not meant to look directly at it, are you?
No. I mean, I wouldn't. But there are gurus out there that have mastered the matrix, and they can do anything. You know, they're like, it's not real. It's just an illusion. You know. But you got to have that faith. You got to be sitting and rooted and grounded in that faith so deeply that the matrix can't muck you up.
No.
You know? So I would tell your viewers, you know, any kind of intention work that you do to manipulate the energy of another person against their free will will earn you instant karma.
It will.
And I would say no all day, every day to participating in that. I had a stalker, and the stalker was like, you know, doing some really weird things. He smashed my fairy garden with a rock. He was leaving me hate mail. And then he was like trying to reach out to me on all my different platforms. I had to block him. One day he was in love with me. The next day he wanted me dead, and he was just all over the place. And
that's got to be quite scary. Faced with something like that,
because I quit feeding it energy. Like I was scared in the beginning. I bought a security alarm system, and I went to the police, and I started, you know, researching and looking at laws and ways to get rid of him. And then I just, you know, I kind of remembered the law of attraction and thought, you know, I'm just not going to feed any energy to this. I blocked him everywhere, so he couldn't gain access to my energy. And if he wanted to physically walk up on my porch, well, then I had physical proof he was there because I had my camera system. And I was like, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
He might as well dig his own grave if he's going to stand on your porch.
Exactly. And so he just kind of faded away. But I had a girl who was a witch. She claimed to be a white witch, but I didn't agree with the things that she was doing. And she wanted to do a binding spell on him to bind his energy so he couldn't come near me. She's like, oh, we just tie up this doll, we put it in the freezer, we say a spell over it that, you know, he can't come near you, he can't. And I looked at her and I said, no, what if I'm part of his soul lesson in some way that he needs access to me in order to learn it? And she's like, well, do you want him to have access to your energy? And I'm like, I trust the universe. Whatever's meant to be will be. And I believe I am divinely protected. And I don't need to be casting evil spells against people in order to find that protection. You know, it's like return to sender. You know, when people do return to sender energy, I always do it with love and light. I'm like, yeah, I've done return to sender, but I don't return the hatred. I don't return the anger. I return love and light. I'm like, okay, well.
I've dabbled in is the freezer spell, where you write someone's name that's causing you toxic energy. You write their name on a piece of paper and you place it in the freezer, and it's supposed to return that energy back to them. But I always send it with love. Even if they've hurt me, I still return it with love.
That's a white witch. So a white witch wants the highest and best for all parties, even the perpetrator, even the perps. It's like, no, you know, they are a part of God.
Love. So
they are a part of God the same as I am. They're just lost. They're in the darkness. They can't find the light. Probably how I attracted him to begin with, because I shone so brightly that he wanted what I had, you know. And so I always, any spell work I do, if it involves another person's energy, it's always for the highest and best of everybody involved, and done in love and love only. And people are like, well, how can you send love to somebody that wants you dead? And I'm like, how can you not? Those are the ones that need it the most.
Exactly.
right? People who know love don't need you to send them love. It's people that don't know love that need you to teach them what love feels.
But it's the same as going back to our abusive relationships. If we didn't send them love even after we've got our karma with them and we've healed that karma, how else would we be able to heal ourselves without having love?
Well, because I don't know. I mean, like I said, when I did it, I wasn't fully awakened and aware and didn't really know what I was doing. It kind of took on a life of its own. It was weird. Like I sat down to do the meditation work, which I heard about from somebody else. They're like, well, you can totally transmute. I wasn't a guru at that time. You know, I heard it could be done and thought, well, I'll give it a try. And the funny thing was, you know, in the beginning, maybe the first 5 minutes of my visualization, I was in control and I was imposing what I wanted to experience on the visualization. But at one point, it took on a life of its own and I was no longer creating it. It was just happening and it was unfolding. And it was like my higher self was in control and telling me and showing me what I needed to do. And so in that moment, my higher self showed me through the visualization and through him that he was broken, that he was hurting, that he was lost, and that he really didn't understand that what he was doing was bad. To him, it was the only way he ever experienced love, or what he thought was love. And so I had to learn that. I didn't know that. Up until that point, I blamed him for everything, thought he was just a horrible narcissist sociopath.
Until I looked at what caused him to be like that.
Right.
And then I realized it's not actually his fault.
Right. Well, yes and no. Yeah. Because we have free will. We have free will. There are people that experience that kind of trauma that rise above it and become educators. You know, they go and advocate, you know, like I don't remember the guy's name, but he's the one that did the TV show where his son was kidnapped and killed. And then he started doing the missing person show where he helped people find their exploited and missing children. I'll probably think of his name after I end the podcast with you. But anyhow, it's an old 70s, 80s show. You know, I mean, he did so much wonderful work at helping parents find their exploited and missing children, or at least their bodies, and doing it in a very loving, you know, way. And, or you could physically choose to go the other way, to become the perpetrator, to say, well, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, right? And so, yes and no, they did have a choice, but a lot of the times their choice was survival. And you can't really know what you would have chosen had it been you. And so compassion and empathy is the only way that I felt was appropriate to handle it, because after years of hatred and resentment and, you know, wishing that he was roasting in hell somewhere and, you know, his karma was getting him on the other side. I mean, I was not nice in my mind or my experience about what I wanted him to experience when he died. I was almost happy to find out that he died, you know.
When someone said to me a few years ago about, would I like to do what he did to me? And I said, yeah, it'd make me feel amazing, but afterwards it wouldn't. It wouldn't make me feel better afterwards. It might at the time, because I feel like I'm getting back at him for what he did. But in the long run, I'd feel guilty about it and I'd feel awful for doing that to somebody, because that's not me.
Well, that makes you them. Like you sink to their level, and exactly. You think that's what vengeance is all about, sinking to the other person's level. But two wrongs never make a right.
But yeah, I just wanted to cover those things with you, and I knew that you would be on the same page with me with it, and it would educate people into understanding it's not necessarily a witch's spell or curse or hex that's been put on it. It's just something that we keep manifesting into our lives because that's
our beliefs. Well, and I mean, I'll play devil's advocate. Maybe there was a witch. Maybe there was somebody that, I mean, because they come to you and ask you to cast a spell. Maybe somebody can. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that it can't be done, but I'm saying that you don't have to own it.
No. And it's not,
you know, it's like, okay, like I could have, you know, being on YouTube, there might be 1,000 out of the 5,000 people that view me that wish ill on me, are jealous of me, wish I would fail, you know, curse my name. But none of that energy is ever going to hit me. It's never going to be able to come in. Why? Because I protect my energy and have faith that everything I do is for the betterment of mankind, the betterment of the collective, and it's done with love and light. And anybody that wants to hate on me it's not going to affect me.
No. They can't hurt.
Now, if I believed it could affect me, then my whole business would start deteriorating, and I'd be like, oh my God, I have a hater. Somebody's ruining my life, my channel, my business. And the truth is, yes, they can. If you give, it's all about your power. If you give somebody the power to do it, then they have free access to your energy.
I'd rather use that negativity to fuel what I do and turn it on itself.
Right. You're just like, whatever. That's a you problem, not a me problem. I don't own it. No. I'm not going to own it. Take your curse and have fun with it. Go dance under the sky and call up all your demons and send your best, because, you know,
as I say,
I have a whole entourage of angels protecting me, and I'm pretty sure they're stronger than anything you can conjure. Exactly. You know?
Rather, so if someone wants that, go and ask somebody else, because I don't want to entertain that side of things, because it's not going to end well.
No, not and especially for you.
No.
And the person hiring you. Because if you take money or an exchange of energy to do harm to another, that's karma I don't even want to look at. That's karma I don't want to ever be involved in.
But yes.
That's when you start getting the plagues, and you start getting the pox, and you start getting, you know, people toxic. Oh, no, thank you. No, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt and the beer koozie, ain't never going back. No, thank you. Take your happy ass on down the road and find somebody of your vibration to do whatever you want, but know that it's going to come back on you almost probably instantaneously. In the past, karma took sometimes generations to straighten out, but we're in a karmic return. You know, Daddy-o, Saturn is the father of karma and time is sped up, and karma is almost instant right now. And so, you know, when they reach out to you, I would educate them. I'd say, listen, you know, anytime you wish harm on another person, it's going to be like an arrow, like a boomerang effect. It's going to go out and it's going to ping right back to you. And, you know, I hope talking to me will deter you from doing that. But if it doesn't, just know that that's not something I'm willing to do. And thank you for reaching out, but no, thank you.
I was trying to be so polite to the customer that approached me about that, and even the way she responded, I just thought, well, that to me just shows you've got no grasp or concept of it, and I feel sorry for the person.
It's a judgment, though. You got to be careful with judgments, Lucy.
I know.
Don't judge others. Judge not, lest you be judged. Okay.
And like I did the judgment card even yesterday for my card of day. So
yes. So there's a difference between discernment, good judgment, and being judgmental. So just remember your Gemini moon. Did you say you're a Gemini moon? Remember your Gemini moon in its highest attribute is this and that can be true. And so try to stay neutral and don't judge the clients that come to you and say, well, you're a bad person. What you're doing is bad, because good and bad is just in the eye of the beholder. What you need to do is educate them and make them aware that there could be a negative consequence if they pursue that, and say, you know, basically you should take the stance of what you do is your business, and I'm not here to judge you, but if it were me, I think I'd stay away from that. And then just, you know, kind of don't invest yourself to try and push the person to see things your way. Just, you know, just drop that little seed and let God fertilize it. And if that person's not ready for that lesson, then they've got much harsher lessons coming, and that's between them and God.
Yeah. That's why I say to you, I just realised that they were not somebody I wanted to work with. And I'm sure they will find their answer somewhere else, but I can't give it to them.
Right, right. And, you know, it doesn't make them a bad person. Maybe they will go on and hire somebody and do some kind of harm and it comes back on them, but that's their lesson. So karma isn't a bitch. She's just fair, right? It's like, it's just fair. Well, you did it to them. Now you're receiving your end of the deal. And maybe that's what they need in order to evolve and to become enlightened and to change. And so who are we to rob them of that lesson?
Yes, this is true.
They might have a soul contract with the person they're casting against. Their souls might say, well, in this lifetime, we're going to cast and hate on each other until one of us learns our lesson. And that's my contract with you. So who are we to know what plan is in motion for that person? So judgment is not ours to have, you know. We just need to educate them and say, you know, in my line of work, I know that there is the law of checks and balances, and I understand that if I do harm unto others, harm will be done unto me, and therefore, no thank you. And you might want to do a little research around negative karma through spell casting before you hire somebody to do it for you.
Yes.
And then leave it with them. If they want to, they can, or if they're angry and they want to really pursue it, let them pursue it. But trust me when I say the universe will handle it, you know?
Well,
and so for those of you watching, if you're cursing or hexing or doing harm unto others and your life has been a shit show and things aren't working out for you and you're feeling a little bit attacked or fearful or victimized, ask yourself, could it be the boomerang effect? Could it be what you're putting out into the world is just coming back toward you?
Exactly.
And if it is, then try an experiment and try sending love to that person instead and see what shifts and changes in your own reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. Well, hopefully we might have got the message across to somebody, or someone out there might understand what.
Well, we covered a lot of topics, a lot of topics today, and a lot of them didn't have anything to do with what the topic was supposed to be. But I always trust that spirit channels through us what the collective needs to hear. So somebody might click on this video and say, you know, well, I want to watch it because of this, but then they hear something else and they're like, oh my God. And what's it do? Plants a seed, right? And then they go out and start researching, or they start, you know, fertilizing that seed, and then their consciousness expands and grows, and we don't even know who we're affecting. You know, it's just out there in the collective to be found. You know, Spirit always told me, you don't have to find anybody.
No.
They will find you. You are the oracle, and their soul knows who their oracle is and will find it in divine timing when they need it. And so, you know, I was a little angry for a couple of days on my finances and the way things have been going. And then it just kind of hit me. I'm like, well, what if it's all part of the divine plan, you know? And so you can do something else for a month or two or year or two or whatever it takes to supplement your income until the next wave, because I was told I had 3 waves. I've definitely seen 2 of them. I'm hoping the next wave, the 3rd wave, is the DMs. So if you resonate with being a divine masculine,
well, you never know. Some divine masculine. Hopefully, you might even end up speaking to mine. Might be able to talk some sense into him.
if they find me, I will channel for them.
He normally comes to me for reading, so I don't know. He might even. I'm sure if he's seen these videos, which I'm sure he has been watching, as he always does. So, because I've been waiting for a comment to do with the interview we did last year, and I've been waiting for some sort of contact. So I just know it's coming, it's looming, and now this has happened. I can feel. So, but as I say, I'm quite very happy with the relationship that I'm in, and I've got no.
Me too. I manifested a soulmate. Things are great. I mean, they're not perfect. I mean, he triggers me. I think he's holding space for the other one because the other one isn't able to trigger me right now. So the one I got triggers me instead. But I don't know. I don't know if we're supposed to be in a physical relationship in this lifetime. All I know is that as of right now, this moment, I'm exactly where I need to be with who I need to be with, doing what I need to be doing. And if that shifts and changes in the future, I'm sure I will be the first one to know.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always get the call, and I always follow the compass. So,
but last time may not be in communication now, but he knows he always has a friend in me. He can always come and speak.
Me too.
And I will never shut him away. If he needs me, he knows where I am.
Exactly, because we are their mirror. Just like they were our mirror. I mean, who are we to say thank you? Thanks for enlightening me. Thanks for awakening me and healing me. But if you need me, fuck off. No, it's not like that. It's like, okay, you need a catalyst. You need a mirror. You need somebody to trigger you or throw a few red flags at you. You know my number.
Right, you go and feed your boy because he's probably chomping at the bit.
He's already mowed down. He's wanting to go to Cognac, but I'm not going. You'll be fine. Tomorrow's Friday. You get to go tomorrow. All right. I love you. You are my soul sister. And I hope we can do any topic. Anytime you want to do a podcast, let me know, because I have not felt very inspired lately to do readings on my channel, only because I love doing them. I enjoy it, but I have such a roadblock to uploads that it takes, if this is a 2 hours and 17 minute around there video, it would take me 4 days.
Yeah.
At the speed that I have of internet, and it's the only speed available to me where I live. I can't upgrade.
Well, I'd be happy to do a live with you. We could have a go at doing that, because I've never done that before. So,
well, we have when's that full moon coming in? Is that on the week? See, the problem is they always land on weekends, and I sing in a band, and I'm never able to do the lives anymore because.
The one time I've decided to actually go out and enjoy myself is this Saturday on the full moon, and I haven't been out for months. My friend said to me, "Oh, should we go out and have something to eat?" And I was like, "Yes, please. I need to go and do something rather than being cooped up inside all the time." So, yeah, it's the one time I've even been invited to a full moon ceremony, and I can't go to that either. So, but yeah, definitely.
So go have fun and know that when you're called to service, you'll know, you'll be there. But yeah, I'm down for lives. We can do lives. We can do
a conversation, get people asking questions, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
In the live ones, I've noticed that seems to get more people viewing if you're doing a live, more subscribers. But yes, well, have a lovely rest of your day.
You too, and your internet's much faster. So when you initiate, like this video, I don't know how long it'll take you to upload it, but people will get it much faster. And you send me the link when you have it, and I'll share it. I'll share it to my people.
Well, I've put our interview. I put it on one of my playlists, and I know you've had, I think, 5 views from me setting that up. So,
good.
It's sending traffic through, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, I haven't had time to even look. To be honest, I've been so busy taking training courses, and chasing the magic apple, that I just haven't had time to do much of anything. But I will go and check it out. I do think that I got a new subscriber on the community podcast.
I did even notice, I think it may have been last night or the night before, that our views are 222. That's how many views we have on our video.
Wow.
222. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Because I saw it and I thought, shall I message Tracie? And then I realised the time of the day, and I thought, no, you're going to be asleep. I'm going to leave it. And
that's, I just put them out there and let whoever needs to find them, find them.
But I thought it was amazing, 222, when I looked at it. And I thought, how bizarre is that?
Right. That's, I always get those numbers. And for the longest time with my partner, it's been 111. Or 1011 or 1101, or it's always 3 ones. And with my twin, it's always 1111. It's always the 1111. Or sometimes I get the occasional like 222, or in the twin flame journey. But my soulmate 111 It's like constant. Every time he texts me or I text him, I'm like, oh my God, look what time it is. You know, or if I put a video or a picture of him and I up on Facebook, it'll get 111 likes, or, you know, it's just weird. Then it'll surpass that eventually.
I've been
But
trying to teach my Aaron about the angel numbers, and the other day when he set up his TikTok, he's put 111 on the end of it, and I said, you have been listening.
There you go.
On board.
See, I can't wait till my guy starts, and he's already sending me videos, and he's on his own awakening journey, but he's still pretty steeped in that whole religious programming. And you know, he tells me all the time, you need to read your Bible, and I'm like, been there, done that. Pretty sure I could outquote you any day of the week.
They're quoting scripture, if you like. I know probably more of it than most people.
Right. I probably know that Bible a little bit better than most people. But, you know, and there is so much beautiful pearls of wisdom in there. Jesus's teachings he was a master teacher, you know, but so many people take the lesson out and put the dogma on. And then it's like, well, you have to follow, you know, the Lord, or you're going to roast in hell for. I'm like, do you really think that Jesus taught that? You need to go back and read the red print a little more. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to tell you before I hang up. So last year, the city I grew up in, which is like 7 miles down the road, the local library, we're talking about the city library, okay? Public library, contacted me and asked me to lecture on the history and use of tarot.
Wow.
Well, there was a caveat. So we set up the class, the lecture, and then she contacted me and said that 3 churches heard about it because they were, you know, advertising it. But when the churches in the town heard about it, they were forming a picket to prevent people from getting into the library, or to try to deter them from getting into the library. And so she said, you know, we would have to hire a lawyer and find out what our legal rights are and blah, 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 blah. And so she canceled it. But she said to me, I'm going to pursue this because I believe that the dogma and stigma of tarot and metaphysical stuff needs to be looked at, and people need to be educated about, you know, the good side of it, not just the bad side of it. And so she's like, I'll get a hold of you next year. Well, she just got a hold of me, and she's like, we hired lawyers, we got everything, you know, set up. We got the Conneaut police station. There's not going to be any problem, and if there is, it'll be quickly addressed. And she says, we would like you to come and not only speak on tarot, but we also would like you to incorporate something to do with the total eclipse that's coming, because there's going to be droves of humans coming, thousands and thousands of them coming here to experience it, because like we're right under it. Yeah. And so our little town is going to be hit with a lot of out-of-towners who are coming here to be part of the viewing of it. And she's like, I think it's important to maybe talk on the topic, and you know how many years it's been since we had one, and you know what was. So she wants me to do a little research about, you know, politics. How does politics get affected by astrology? And so I'm not an astrologer, so I'll be getting a hold of my friend Julene and collaborating with her on how to write it up. I wish she lived local. I'd have her go and do the lecture with me, you know, as my collaborator. But so yeah, I just wanted to tell you, it does occasionally spirit does take down some of those roadblocks in order to create progress and to awaken and enlighten people in ways you never thought. I mean, we're talking about traditional structures, you know, city ordinance, the man or the patriarch, you know.
Library that's been set up by the man. So, and then, but at least they're putting the protection in place there. So at least you're not going to have hate slurred at you when you're trying to approach the building and things like that. At least you've got that protection there, because I can imagine the church, and there's going to be a few people that are going to think it's blasphemy and things like that.
Yeah, and it's funny how you went to that instantly, because I didn't even think about that. I think I'm at a place in my journey where I just know I'm divinely protected and divinely guided. If God wants me there, I'm going.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to worry about the fallout, because God's got that too.
Well, exactly. They've got our back. They've got our back.
Right. I ain't worried about it. The people that need it will show up, and the people that are against it, they might show up too, but who knows? Maybe they'll learn a thing or two.
Hopefully,
right?
Even just that one seed is going to start something. So,
well, and what better person to do it than me, who has walked both paths?
Exactly.
You know, hello. Hot Sunday school, sat on sessions. You know,
the fact ordained that you life and that path, that shows that you have more respect with regards to that. Whereas I may have been brought up with it, but I wasn't a minister or anything like that. I can only go by what I was taught at school or with the church, but even then I contradicted everything they tried to teach me anyway. So I was not the best student when it comes to teaching the Bible, because I argued everything. So
I questioned everything too. Well, I had a time in my life where I was very broken and I just blindly followed. But that went against my nature. My nature was to constantly question. You know, it was more programming than anything. It was that fear of being condemned forever, you know, which, by the way, you know, my partner says a lot of times, well, when you die, you're going to find out the truth. And I'm like, when I die, I better. I'm looking forward to it.
It does. It's even down to, like, for example, if I ever had a child, I still want them christened, because I think they're going to get stuck in limbo. But that's the brainwashing that it's caused me. But that's not going to happen.
I didn't raise my child one way or the other. I'm like, you know, he learns what he learns, and spiritually will evolve into what he's meant to evolve in. And if he wants to be a Christian, he can be a Christian. If he wants to be a Muslim, he can be a Muslim. If he wants to be an atheist, he can be an atheist. But I'm hoping he'll just be spiritual and understand that the law of attraction, or the law of the universe, is that all is love and all is well.
But it's all, everything's connected anyway. It's all sending a message. So
yeah, I do teach him about, you know, what you put out into the world is most likely what you're going to receive back. I don't know if he's mature enough to understand it.
The most annoying thing ever.
But I plant those seeds, and you know,
they'll make sense. You're in your 20s, the penny will drop.
Right. When you hit that first Saturn return. Saturn return. Yep, that's when you have your first glow up. All right, Lucy, thank you so much. Sending you much love, and all your viewers much love. If you want to go over and find me, hopefully you'll link my channel
on the community, and I put both on you, but I don't think anyone checks the community. I'm posting on it and I don't get any responses from people.
Well, when you're a small channel, it's you know, you got to grow into something. Hopefully doing this with me, some of my followers, because I don't have a lot, but I have over 5,000.
A couple of people did add after you put your post up, but it's every day some more add. Like today I think I'm up to 34 or 35 now, and that's happened in the space of 2 weeks. I've gone up by 25 people.
Oh, good. So, well, with your permission, once I get the link, I would like to post it to our Lightworker Community Podcast channel on YouTube as well, which hasn't had an upload in over a year because life hit various places for me, and I just wasn't able to pursue it. And Jew's over in Honduras or somewhere. I don't even remember where she's at. Where's she at?
She's traveling, hasn't she? She's been traveling around. I've seen different
pictures. Ecuador. Where is she? I can't remember. She was in Costa Rica, and then she's teaching children English. In a third world country somewhere. But anyhow, we go where we're called, right? And so I created the podcast when I was told to, and then it kind of died out and fizzled out for a while, and now it feels like I might be being called to do some more podcasts in the near future. So
I want to do more of this. I want to get other people on to discuss with them about tarot, twin flame, soulmate, whatever, really, anything to do with even the matrix, for example.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's this. I thought you would be the best person to start with, because I know that we get on well. We've already discussed a lot of these things, and I thought it would be a good way to start, especially with what I've had in the last week with requests. So, but thank you so much, Tracie. I really appreciate it.
I don't know. I feel very flattered. I'm going to say I feel very flattered. I try not to let my ego get involved, but I was Rich Lopp's very first interview for his podcast as well. And I didn't even know he was going to do it. He reached out to me, and I thought, you know, I remember my first channeling when Spirit said, you don't have to look for anybody. They will just come to you. And the fact that you said, you know, you thought that it was written on your heart or your mind that I should be the first one that you interview, it makes me feel really good to know that when the time is right, the people that you know can benefit from my own life lessons and my own downloads and channeling, we'll find it.
That video of you being interviewed by Rich was my inspiration to even reach out to you and say to you, I've been through a similar experience. Would you be willing to interview me on your channel? And here we are today.
Yeah.
Over a year later.
Yeah, Rich has actually been the catalyst, as my twin has been the catalyst for my awakening. Rich has been the catalyst for people finding me. You know, and I channeled that too. At that point, Spirit told me just a young man. They didn't even say who. I was like, oh, I'm just, you know, some girl from Conneaut, Ohio. How am I ever going to matter? How is anybody ever going to find me, you know? And they're like, don't worry, there's a young man that will lead them to you. And then later people will find you when the time is right. And so I probably wouldn't have as many followers as I have if it wasn't for Rich, because he was the catalyst for my my waivers to find me. So kudos, I'm happy.
So many people, and he doesn't even know how to take the compliment. He feels so like unworthy of it. He even said that in the video, that he doesn't feel worthy of all. But he has been a great person for everybody. He's brought so many people together. He's been an inspiration. But it's that worry that you're going to think that, oh, why do people like? It's his own insecurities, as he said, that makes him feel like he.
Well, who are we? I mean, he was homeless, living under a bridge, eating out of garbage cans, addicted to alcohol and whatever else he was into. And to go from that, to go from that to what he is today, it must be a very humbling experience to think, wow, you know, I never, ever, ever believed that I could be anything more than what I was, and to be where I am today. I'm just so proud of him. I feel like, you know, I'm his surrogate mother, you know, I'm the one that officiated their wedding, you know, and I always joke around and say, what Tracie brings together, let no man tear asunder.
I think it's beautiful that you married them as well. I think that must have been such an honor to do for them.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope it was as special for them as it was for me, because like I said, he's been a key player in my tribe finding me. And so, you know, I think he and I probably come from the same spaceship or something. We definitely had a soul contract. So yeah. All right, honey, I'll talk to you later.
Have a good rest of your day, and we'll catch up soon. But thank you so much for your time today. But bye.
Bye, guys.